It is that fundamental belief, I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper, that makes this country work. Whoa, whoa, yeah. Some people are divided by religion, yeah. Oh, yeah. Some people are divided by their greed, yeah. Some people are divided by deception, yeah. Oh, yeah. Some have a lot of money but still in need, yeah. The time has come to help your hurting brother. Time has come to think about your sister. Can't turn a blind eye to their need, yeah. Share some love to help your hurting brother. Share some love to help your fallen sister. One God, one faith, one destiny, yeah. It's time for unity, yeah. Deception is tumbling down, live in unity, yeah, yeah. Division must be broken down, unite in dignity, yeah. United under God we stand. Unity is power for all. Whoa, whoa, yeah. Well, everything around us is changing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nothing will ever be the same, yeah. Limitless scope for transformation, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yet no one has the answer for the pain, yeah. Selfishness and greed have many blinded. Heartlessness has many people suffering. Why can't we see our brothers' pain, yeah? Children are hungry and they are crying. Mothers are hurting and they are sighing. Yet all we care about is gain, yeah. It's time for unity, yeah. Deception is tumbling down, live in unity, yeah, yeah. Division must be broken down, unite in dignity, yeah. United under God we stand. Unity is power for all. Stand for unity, yeah.
You have been watching the latest development, and you seem to be very unsure of what to do next. You know something is about to happen, but again, you simply keep watching without a clue as to what to do next. Wake up, my brothers and sisters. You must move now to save yourselves. You must move now to prepare yourselves for the peril ahead. To delay is to open yourself to serious trouble, and there will be no one to blame but you. Lifeline Financial Programs has always been telling you that things will get very serious very quickly if you do not move now to prepare for what is coming. Nothing will get better. We are on a downhill ride. You must get up and move now to save yourself. It is predicted that you will be having serious financial problems soon. Will you sit and wait until everything has crashed then say, if I had known? Find us today at Lifeline Financial Programs. We have the best plans to keep you alive during the trying times ahead. Mark my word. You will remember every word I say. Don't wait until everything has fallen apart and you are running around like a chicken without a head. Find us at Lifeline Financial Programs today. We will help you find a way. Call us at 540-4555 or email us at lifelinebvlimited@gmail.com.
Lifeline Financial Programs, the gateway to a better future.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome again to another amazing Monday evening, and of course, another amazing Raw Truth presentation. So much has been happening across our world, and as we continue to dissect the developments, it seems there's no end in sight to the madness as we see it happening across the world, and especially across the Caribbean region. Every week right here on the Raw Truth, we present to you some very interesting happenings as they come to us across the world and especially across the Caribbean region. Our peoples across the Central Americas as they continue to deal with the issues as presented within their own lands where they live. This week we have with us a panel, gentlemen out of Antigua. Amazing nation. Many great things out of Antigua. The cricket games as we know it. The Clive Lloyds, they name them. Cricket, the name of the game. Antigua. You cannot avoid talking about cricket when you talk about Antigua. What is going to happen in Antigua when you look at what is going on with their government, the people, the children going to school, the madness as it comes to the injections in that nation? People can't work, people can't eat, people can't go to school. What is going to happen as the government clamps down on the people in Antigua to get the jab? If you're just joining us, make sure that you share the live. Let me welcome you. Welcome, 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 wherever in the world you're joining us from. Let me welcome you to the Raw Truth. And of course, this promises to be another amazing presentation. Kenny G, Chief Pakal King Bay of the Oyata Nation. And of course, every Monday evening, we bring you this amazing program as we highlight the happenings across the world. If you're watching us from Facebook, please go to PSI TV on Facebook. Please like the page. If you're watching us on LinkedIn, make sure that you like the page as well. And if you're watching us from our platform on YouTube, be sure you go there, click the subscribe button, so you can always get the updates as we continue to bring you the latest happenings from across the Caribbean region. Share the live with all your friends. Please share the live because this is going to be a very interesting discussion this evening as we continue to look at the happenings across the Caribbean region. And this evening, we feature the happenings in Antigua. We have with us Mr. Neil Joseph, an Antiguan businessman. No, well, of course, he's an attorney at law, I'm sure. We have, I call him the Honorable Chaku Semester. He's also an attorney at law. And of course, we have Warren Cassell. I hope I'm not mixing them up now because when they've done all of these are great gentlemen. They have an amazing duty to play, an amazing role to play in shaping the affairs of Antigua. How does this whole COVID thing affect the business community, the legal fraternity? How are we dissecting this matter as we stand to protect our people from both the business and the legal, lawful point of view? This is going to be an absolutely very interesting discussion as we look at these and other issues tonight coming out of Antigua. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to bring in our gentlemen out of Antigua as we look at some of the interesting matters as they appear right here on The Raw Truth with Kenny G. We'll come back in a minute. Everywhere in the world you go nowadays, everybody's talking about the jab. Get the jab, get the jab. They tell you forget the jab, what it will cure. Avoid you going into the hospital. I'm not sure if that's true because many people in the hospital nowadays are now suffering from COVID. Many people are getting sick because of the whole jab thing. Many people are very aware that the jab is creating problems, and as a result, many are staying away from it. What will change this scenario? And why are the prime ministers across the Caribbean region pushing very hard to get our people injected? What is the catch? If the news is everywhere that something is happening and the people are aware, what is the catch? Why are prime ministers, including the prime minister of Antigua and Barbuda, pushing so hard to make sure that everyone is vaccinated? What is in it for him or for them? These and more. As we come back, let me bring in my beloved brother, Chaku, the man himself. The honorable, I call him the honorable Chaku. My brother, greetings. How you doing?
Good night. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good night to listeners across the Caribbean and around the world. I just want to really start by reminding you it's Antigua and Barbuda.
And Antigua and
yes, and
Antigua
Barbuda.
and Barbuda. That's what it is, of course. And of course, it's crazy right now. Right now, we've been hearing a whole lot of stuff coming out of Antigua, my brother. Give us a synopsis of what is happening in Antigua right now. Talk with us.
Well, when the pandemic hit our state in about March 13 of 2020, the government clearly did not know how to respond to it. So we have been having a number of knee-jerk reactions to things as they happen from time to time. Testing was something that they never did unless persons show symptoms. The entire regime of dealing with COVID-19 in Antigua and Barbuda has been a dismal failure. And at the center of that failure is the government's arrogance in dealing with the people. So much so that I think it has created a new dynamic, not only in Antigua and Barbuda, but across the world, where the people are saying to government no, and the government is responding by saying that there will be consequences. And so, since the jab has been introduced in Antigua and Barbuda, the very first statement that the Prime Minister made on on radio was that no jab, no jobs. And as people became more aware of vaccination and this particular vaccine, there was indeed a pushback in taking the vaccine here in Antigua and Barbuda, as it is across the region and around the world. The government responded by making vaccination mandatory, first for public servants, workers in statutory corporations, and workers in companies where the government has a majority share. That's where it started initially. They then started to encourage the private sector to adopt that policy, which in fact they had turned into regulations. Then they amended the regulations and made it mandatory for workers on what they call the front line in tourism had to have the jab. But the most disgusting of all is when they said to workers that we give you 2 weeks to take the jab, and after 2 weeks, do not return to work unless you have the jab. They got worse. They required children in school to have the jab. And of course, the resistance continued, and they excluded students who were not vaccinated from entering the school compound. They prevented teachers who were not vaccinated from entering the school compound. And they decided that they would not provide virtual learning for those students who had to stay home. Well, the students and their parents and their teachers responded last week, Thursday, with a 500 plus persons picket at the Ministry of Education. And within 24 hours of that picket, the government has reversed its position and now is allowing students, vaccinated and unvaccinated, on the school compound. They have
Mm-hmm.
reversed their decision regarding public sector workers, statutory corporation workers, and companies in which they have the majority share.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we have is a total reversal of the policy that they and regulations that they pushed and implemented over the past several weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it is well believed that that decision was motivated by the fact that an election is due next year,
Mm-hmm.
yes, next 2023, where it is anticipated will happen within the next 6 months. And
Mm-hmm.
so that change of policy, interestingly also, after the major opposition party announced that it will reinstate all workers in the public sector and the
Mm-hmm.
statutory, those that government owned, that
Mm-hmm.
it would reinstate all workers who would have lost their job for refusal to take the job, is when
Mm-hmm.
we saw this total reversal of the government's policy.
Hmm.
But the debate continues because they're now asking that those who are not vaccinated must take a COVID 19 test every 2 weeks.
Hmm.
What that creates, then, my brother, is two classes of persons, one vaccinated, the other not vaccinated. The unvaccinated must be subject themselves to a COVID 19 test where the vaccinated are not. And all of the information that we're getting from the sciences and out of public health professionals is that vaccinated persons are not immune to
Mm-hmm.
getting COVID 19. They can spread COVID 19. And so it bothers and bungles the mind of a government policy that seeks to create what we call over here a health apartheid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a synopsis of where we are today.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I find it very interesting, my brother, that we are still pushing this madness in a way that, looking at all the information coming out of all parts of the world, the facts as we see them, uh, it is a fact that the most uh, people you see coming down with all kinds of illness in the hospitals are vaccinated people. This is the latest fact. You see that in Britain, you see it in Israel, you see it in New Zealand. It's all over the place. Where
As
you
a matter
where you have where you have the highest rate of injection or injected people, you have the highest rate of COVID. That's a fact. Is it that our prime ministers do not check the news or check the latest happenings coming out of these parts of the world to find out exactly what in hell is going on? Is it that they don't check? Tell me what is
I
going on.
think it is. I think it is apparent that there must be some benefit for those Caribbean prime ministers and others that are pushing the jab so much, that they are unconcerned about side effects, they're unconcerned about deaths. As a matter of fact, here, my brother, that they had embarked on a policy that once a person died and the person wasn't vaccinated, that was big news. The person wasn't vaccinated became part of the conversation when a person died. Recently, there have been persons who have been fully vaccinated and unfortunately have passed away. And so they stopped giving us information now about the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. But what we really ought to look at, well, some of us do, is how the government has totally ignored fundamental rights and freedoms of the
Yes.
people in
There you go.
order to push a vaccine
There you go.
where I'm no medical person, but all that we've been hearing, that it does not prevent you from get COVID, it does not cure COVID, and it doesn't prevent you from spreading COVID. So the rights that we have fought for and won and seek to preserve over the decades that the government across the region
Yes.
decides we don't care. We must single out Barbados for sure, who have
Yes.
made it clear they were not going to go on a mandatory vaccine program. But let me make one small point here. Barbuda, which is the sister island, has a local government.
Right.
And the local government over in Barbuda decided it was not going to follow the central government in Antigua and have mandatory vaccination. And they were able to get some 68% of their population vaccinated without a mandate. But here in Antigua and Barbuda, you've been told frankly that you could have worked in the public service for 20, 25, 30 years, and you're not taking this vaccine, don't come back. We had a situation where police officers, all vacations, all leaves were canceled, and officers were working 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week, because there were so many police officers that were unvaccinated at that time. So it is just not that small group of people. It is right across the state. And the government in Antigua and Barbuda is not concerned about persuasion. And it detests protests. The group Freedom Fighters of Antigua and Barbuda started a series of pickets opposing first the vaccine, the mandatory vaccine. On August 8th, which we dubbed 8821, hundreds of persons gathered for a peaceful protest. They were tear gas and rubber bullets. This was the response by the government of Gaston Brown to people exercising their right to disagree with government, to assemble with each other and show that disagreement. And that's not new in the Caribbean, but in the context of a pandemic and in the context of persons asserting their rights, and that was a government response. Tell us the state of things in Antigua and Barbuda today.
My brother, let me welcome all my friends from across the world, wherever you're watching us from. I see all my friends out of NJ, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, other parts of the Caribbean region. Amazing. And the other parts of the other parts of the Americas. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, we are live here with you, with our friends from Antigua, as we assess in depth exactly what is happening there in that part of the world. Let me bring in my brother, my beloved brother Warren, into the mix right now. And of course, I think it's quite timely that you're coming. Greetings, my brother Warren. How are you doing? I'm not hearing you at all. Can you turn on your
I'm
mic or
sorry.
something?
Yes.
Amazing,
Greetings.
beautiful.
Good evening, everyone.
Greetings,
Good
my
evening to
brother.
you.
How are you doing?
Good evening to my fellow panelists, my very good friend, Mr. Chaco Simister as well, and Neil Joseph,
Yes.
both of whom I know. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yes. Tell me something. As you're involved in law, because this now becomes the other side of the coin. We have had many questions out of Antigua, and people are now wondering, what in hell can lawyers do to this? Have you been doing anything at all about it? Give me a general synopsis of what is the lawful or the legal position on this matter in Antigua. Talk with us a little about that.
Well, first of all, as I always tell people, that lawyers act on instructions. So it's not, sometimes people say, well, what are the lawyers doing? A lawyer must first get instructions from persons, because if you are
Yes.
affected by something, it means that you have to go to your lawyer, complain about it, and then the lawyer can do something about it. He can't take it upon himself to institute an action, because there must be a party who is called a claimant bringing the action.
Yes.
Having said that, there are persons in Antigua, like the freedom fighters, for example, who have taken steps to sort of like note or bring the court in to the situation that they can adjudicate on the matter. There
Yes.
have been at least so far 3 matters that have been filed. One is still pending. In relation to the other two, the two unions brought actions in the High Court, and the court have said and have ruled that the unions ought not to have brought the matter in the name of the union, because
Yes.
they have no right to sue as the union themselves. It's a technicality without going into the merits of the matter. There's a matter
Right.
that's pending, in which I'm representing a group of persons who have decided to bring them a class action on behalf of those who have share the same or similar issues. And that action, they are saying, challenging the policy, saying that it is unreasonable, saying it is disproportionate, saying it is irrational, for example. Also challenging the regulations that were made under the Public Health Act, or the amendment to the regulation, which stipulated, first of all, that you must remain home if you are not vaccinated.
Right.
One of the points that they've raised is that the Parent Act, the Public Health Act, has a section that mandates that the regulations, before it becomes valid, must be laid before Parliament, and that was not done. That matter is still pending, and as you know, I am sort of limited as to what I can say about the matter, given that it is before the court. What I can tell you that we returned to the court on the 1st of December. Part of the relief that they sought was an injunction staying the operation of the policy and staying the operation of the amendment pending the determination of the matter. Of
Right.
course, having regard to what my very good friend Mr. Chaco Simmons has said, that is, they have totally withdrawn that, and persons can now return to work, vaccinated or not. It may not be, we may not be able to pursue that because there is no the policy is obviously being disbanded, so to speak.
Tell me something, sir, because when you look at the whole matter of the, the the administration of law in its general sense, you look at the matter of the jab, the administration of the jab. You look at the fact that in many cases the rights of people have been abrogated, uh, and obviously what we have accepted as normal and lawful over the years now seem to be out of the window. What exactly is this saying to us? What's your take on it?
Well, first of all, they are going to say, and there's some wiggle room in the Constitution for them, as far as the section, as I can remember, on the personal liberty, for example, makes the exception that you cannot challenge or raise the issue that you have a right to personal liberty in a case where the actions being taken by the state is to curb an infectious disease. That is the reason why in the action that we've brought, we've made no reference to the Constitution of Antigua and Barbuda, none whatsoever. We felt that there was a little bit too much wiggle room as far as that particular right was concerned. So it is, you have to be clever about this. The law is very definitive. So rather than giving them an opportunity to come back and say, hey, the very same Constitution that guarantees my freedom, my as far as personal liberty is concerned, is the very same Constitution that has said, except that you are not to challenge where there is an effort on behalf of the government to curb an infectious disease.
Yes. But then you look at it, sir. My concern is this, because now, welcome to the raw truth, and let's have a real talk about this. My concern is the fact that the contagion, as was expressed, the mad rush to hide from this big bad COVID, is now proven that there are many alternate remedies to not just a remedy, but to cure the stupid thing. Why is it that our health services across the world and the governments are not focusing on the cures? But I mean, we all know, we understand the mandate. We understand it's Agenda 21, 2030. It's plain. Why don't they just get out and say, okay, fine, this is the agenda. You're open to XYZ because we need to see XYZ happening, and you're free to become a part of all of this because you have XYZ to benefit from it. Why not give the people a real reason to want to get involved rather than conning them to get involved? Now it is looking like it is not working. Everybody is seeing this. And now they're fighting to get people injected as a result of not being honest about it. Lawfully. You're talking about the Nuremberg. Hold on. You're talking about the Nuremberg Code, which in its entirety has been abrogated, literally. Criminally abrogated. Because you're not supposed to hold on a human being and against their will force them into something that is going to hurt them. Yes, it has hurt many, it has not hurt some. Lucky for some, they have not been hurt. But many people, millions have been hurt and millions dead. Lawfully, is it that we cannot look at the approach and find a new way to help people to deal with the reality of the transition? Yes, we're moving into the 21st century. Yes, this is the new world agenda. We all know that. But why are we utilizing criminal means rather than looking at practical means to help our people to embrace the reality of our time? What are you seeing?
Well, that's a question that has baffled many of us. It's a question that I cannot answer. I've seen, in my opinion, the common sense committing suicide in the past few months, literally. That you're testing persons who are unvaccinated only, when in fact, the science says that if you are vaccinated, you can contract and you can also spread the disease. It makes no sense. For example, we have religious exemptions, and one particular institution in Antigua, there's a particular institution whereby persons are saying are asked to vaccinate, or you're not able to return to work. There was one particular person who was a Rastafarian, and so he got an exemption. He's a frontline worker. He's allowed at the institution, unvaccinated, only has a paper to say that he is exempt as a result of his religious belief. But it means that he's still there. He's just like any other unvaccinated person, except the others are not able to fall under the umbrella of a religious exemption. So it is nonsensical. It makes no sense. I don't know. It has caused common sense to revolt and to commit suicide.
Well, this is where we are. And of course, you're talking about the whole madness in Antigua. You call it the COVID madness. Yes, it is indeed. And when the day is over, where do we go with this? The people are waking up. The people know the truth, but yet they're pushing. What do we do with this? If you're just joining us, share the live. We come back in a moment as we get to Neil Joseph, who's been waiting in the waiting room. Don't touch that dial. We'll come back in a minute.
You have been watching the latest development, and you seem to be very unsure of what to do next. You know something is about to happen, but again, you simply keep watching without a clue as to what to do next. Wake up, my brothers and sisters. You must move now to save yourselves. You must move now to prepare yourselves for the peril ahead. To delay is to open yourself to serious trouble, and there will be no one to blame but you. Lifeline Financial Programs has always been telling you that things will get very serious very quickly if you do not move now to prepare for what is coming. Nothing will get better. We are on a downhill ride. You must get up and move now to save yourself. It is predicted that you will be having serious financial problems soon. Will you sit and wait until everything has crashed then say, "If I had known"? Find us today at Lifeline Financial Programs. We have the best plans to keep you alive during the trying times ahead. Mark my word. You will remember every word I say. Don't wait until everything has fallen apart and you are running around like a chicken without a head. Find us at Lifeline Financial Programs today. We will help you find a way. Call us at 540-4555 or email us at lifelinebvlimited@gmail.com.
Lifeline Financial Programs, the gateway to a better future.
Welcome back, and you're live with us right here on PSI Network, PSI TV, as you watch us from Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We welcome all our viewers from across the world watching us tonight. And of course, please share this live with your friends. Of course, we'll deal with what is happening in Antigua and Barbuda. Very interesting developments as Prime Minister Gaston Brown and his gang revisits their strategy in relation to what is happening on the ground in that country. The people protested about their children not going to school. And of course, he had to step back to allow the children to go to school. The problem now is we have a mix. You have vaccinated and unvaccinated mixed. And of course, you're talking about the matter of shedding. Anywhere you put this is trouble. And it's quite interesting when you understand the makeup of this jab. Let me go to Mr. Neil Joseph. He's been waiting in the waiting room, and I'm going to ask Neil to come in. Where is Brother Neil right now? Come in, Brother Neil. Where are you? We need to see you right now. Yeah, man. Open up a camera, my brother. Come talk with us. What a go on? Talk to us. Greetings.
Well. Can you hear me? You can hear me good, right?
Clear and bright, my brother. Clear and bright.
Fantastic. I'm here again.
What a go on in Antigua? Tell me what a go on down there, business-wise. Tell us.
Antigua is a very interesting place, you know. It's been a very interesting place over the last few months. And just like Chaco and Warren said, the government of Antigua has been playing this very, very dangerous game. I would like to make a correction. I'm not a lawyer. I used to be a CPA accountant, okay. But I do small business now.
Well, there you go.
Yes, and it's been interesting because the government, even though they reversed some of the mandates, and the Prime Minister had the audacity to say it was a move of compassion. Wow. When just a few weeks ago, as I mentioned the first time, you have a member of government saying that vaccinated and unvaccinated people shouldn't even breathe the same air. You have one parliamentarian practically threatening so-called unvaccinated people, saying, they should just go and live by themselves, let them die off, and one ton of crazy things.
Hold on. You mean your Prime Minister told the people that?
No, not the Prime Minister, a member of Parliament.
A member of Parliament?
Yes. Yeah, they just let them live by themselves and die off.
Was he drunk or something? Was he drunk?
It doesn't look so, It doesn't look so. He looked to have been in his
You mean the same man who the people put in there to look out for their business is telling the same people that they must either die or go live by themselves.
As a matter of fact, another craziness is happening in Antigua, that if you are so-called unvaccinated, you can't even go into Parliament. You can't go in the upper and the lower house. Let Chaku tell you. Verify that. You let him tell you. So you're elected by the people to do the people's business, and because you don't want to take an experimental jab that the FDA recently filed with a federal judge to say, hey, we don't want to fully tell the truth until 2076. That because you don't want to be part of a medical trial, you can't represent the people of Antigua and Barbuda. I guarantee you there was a spirit of lunacy letting loose in the government in this country. Total lunacy. It was getting worse by the day. They can't even pay Social Security workers on time. They're borrowing money to pay Social Security. And they put in a mandate that shrank the workforce so that they collect less Social Security when they already had. I'm telling you, this government is incompetent to the highest degree. Every single one. And when election time come, not one of them is supposed to get a seat. Not one. These people are crazy.
Listen,
absolutely crazy.
I say it all the time, my brother, and I continue to maintain that if the government you have in your country forming their ass with people and telling them all kind of stupidness, it is your fault. I keep saying it, unfortunately. But because when you allow... This is how people are, my brother. If a man mash a can one time and he realizes that when he mash it, all you say is, ouch, and that's all. The next time he going to step on your head Because this is how people are. You give them one chance, one time they come back, they take another chance, and they just keep blowing it out of proportion. The people of any place, the quality governance they get from the people who they put in government, in as much as government is not there for the purpose of people, they are there for the purpose of the corporation. This is what our people are failing to realize. And unless you demand of the people who you put in the House of Assembly what you need them to do for you as a people, they will not study squat about you. I keep saying it all the time. And this is the problem across the Caribbean region and other parts of the world. Our people believe that it's an automatic thing for government. When you put them in there, they will just run about and try to get you jobs and get you good homes and get you good food and get you all of these things. And you just sit back and play dead. And when they realize that you start playing dead, then they start to load their pocket with the money and they start to do all kind of crap to abrogate your rights and take away your land and all kind of garbage. And we sit back and watch it. It is the people's fault. We need to understand that government is not there to look out for your business if you don't care about yourself. Let me say this categorically. And it doesn't matter where in the world you are or where in the Caribbean region you are for that matter. If you don't know what your rights are, you are done because government don't care about you. They need to get that. Now we're talking about election. Listen, sir, how are businesses affected right now? Because businesses, I'm sure, maybe on half mast. You're talking about a dying economy, perhaps. In what's happening? Talk with us.
There is already an issue with the global supply chain. We all know this. There is already an issue with food prices inflation. We know this. Okay? And businesses are hurting. As a matter of fact, some businesses, of course, I'm not going to call any name, but there are a lot of restaurants in Antigua, and I'm just going to say this. But, you know, some of the restaurant owners are not even bothering with the government, okay? Because they have rent, they have bills, they have to feed their children, while these politicians collect automatic money and they wheel and deal and enrich themselves. Most of them, practically for all of them, are millionaires. Where they get their money from, I mean, and we know this. You mentioned something. We know these guys. We know what they're up to. We know how they got their wealth, and they just operate like renegades, tyrants, kings, pretending as if they can't be voted out. I don't know, but a lot of people in Antigua are waiting for election day, okay? And we really want to get rid of any government that is going to act against the will of the people. When it comes to the children, there are children that suffered great adverse reactions. You know, I'm part of freedom fighters. I was there on August 8th. I got tear gassed. I saw a lot. They tear gassed children, and the prime minister never backtrack on that. He doubled down on it. This man is crazy. And I'm not saying it to be disrespectful. He has a serious mental problem.
Wow.
But it's infecting his entire cabinet. These guys are not in their right mind. I don't know if there's a chip implanted in their brain. I don't know if they drank something. But these guys, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. But a lot of it was reversed. But it's a political move. Antigua is small. As a matter of fact, members of the same cabinet have told people it's a political move. Antigua is small and people tell other people. And so we're not being fooled by it. We're moving full steam ahead. Drop the state of emergency because that doesn't make any sense. I don't know. They're not following any science. They keep talking about listening to authoritative information. I don't know if they think CNN is a credible organization. I don't know. Maybe they think Dr. Fauci, Flip-Flop Fauci, is a credible person, which, by the way, he's already stated, you know, how they like to do this speak. Well, you know, the definition of fully vaccinated may change. Like, really, may change. We already seen what happened in Israel. If you haven't taken the third shot, you're unvaccinated. We see what's happening in Gibraltar. They're looking to cancel Christmas, and pretty much every adult in Gibraltar is vaccinated. we've heard from the doctors, we've heard from the scientists. Stop the nonsense, because we're not
But
fools.
this is precisely my point, Neil. This is my point. Are these people not watching what is happening across the world in other nations to see that this thing is not working? Are they not watching? Are they not seeing it?
They're watching and they know. Which just leaves us to the conclusion that they're either let's go through some multiple choice. They're either not human, or they're being paid, or they're being threatened, but they're not using common sense. They're not using wisdom, and they're certainly not acting in the best interest of the people. That is for sure. We know about the agenda. We can go on the World Economic Forum website. You can Google Global Governance 2025 and read the document. I mean, none of this is hidden. The United Nations Agenda 2030 of Sustainable Development, they already said the world is over. Listen, we know this stuff. None of this is conspiracy theory. It's on their website. Go read Klaus Schwab's book, The Great Reset. You can get it for free. If you can't find it, I'll send it to you.
Wow.
These guys' plans aren't hidden. COVID wasn't an accident. First, they told us, oh, it came from a bat and then a pangolin, and then, I mean, we know it's a bioweapon. Come on, man. One of the same, Dr. Leeming, I think, she's a Chinese virologist, came to the United States. I think she defected or whatever. And she said, yes, it's a bioweapon. I was right there. Come on, man.
No, but when you look at it, my brother, for people who are commonsensical, I put that in quotes. You don't need no magnifying glass to look at what is happening. So we know from past experiences, and maybe our people have been forgetting the facts. The disease are placed in these injections and injected in people, and it keeps spreading, and all the garbage that continues with it. Most of these vaccines, though some of them were made with antibodies to prevent the spread of disease, when you look at what is happening, especially in the ones that we now have, it is the disease itself in these injections. And this one, from what we all know, there's a hell of a lot more going on with it. Now, I don't want to get into that. I would rather one of the experts come on this platform to dissect all of that so we can get into all the garbage that is piled into this crap. The point is, these prime ministers know exactly what the hell is going on. And is it that they really do not want the people to know because they're benefiting financially from it? Or if it is that they really want to kill some of the people in the countries. I am actually looking at this very seriously and wondering, where the hell are we going with this if we're not catching ourselves to take a very serious look at it? Because everybody knows it is not hidden, not anymore. It's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my concern. Yes.
But why is the people, why the people, the greatest concern that I've had over the last 2 months in this country is something very, very scary, outside of the vaccines, outside of the mandates, that people went to take the jab knowing they could die from it right after. Knowing.
Yes.
People took it when their own family members died within 3 days.
Within 3 days.
A week.
Some of them right on it. A woman in Antigua took it, and right before the face, she fell on the stretcher and never got up. Within 5 minutes, she was dead.
But here's what's crazy. Then they took their children. So here is my concern. The governments of the Caribbean know that slave mentality never left us. This is my greatest concern, because all the people had to do was stand up, and mandates, vaccine, all that gone away. It's because we didn't stand up. Freedom fighters tried, but a lot of people just went up because they didn't know their own power. They didn't know. So the slave mindset is still very pervasive in this country, and that is the biggest concern to me. Huge concern.
We have on the line quite a very interesting discussion. Our panel out of Antigua, and of course, we're looking at exactly what is happening in that neck of the woods. Quite interesting as we examine the actions coming out of government, and of course, how the people are dealing with it in that part of the world. very interesting. And of course, as we continue to share, our friends on the live, they're sharing their comments very, very rapidly here. No joke at all. Let me bring in back Brother Chaku, because when it is done, I'm seeing where some folks are actually asking some very interesting questions. I'm trying to get Chief Chaku in again. I'm not seeing him here. It seems there's a freeze. All right, let me try to get Warren in. Uh, 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 Let me bring in Brother Warren. Yeah, man, you stay connected, my brother. Stay connected right there. There are questions coming out of Antigua, and some of them, I have them actually documented before me. One of them is, what legal or lawful actions will you bring against Gaston Brown and his cabinet for breaching international treaties? As you mentioned earlier, lawyers cannot act unless the people give you a job to do. Speak with us a little more in depth on this, because is it that the people do not understand their rights? Is it that they do not understand the power in their hands as a people? Or is it that they just lay back and not understanding that if they sit back and don't do anything about it, these people, if their rights are being abrogated, will continue to be abrogated by virtue of the fact that they're ignorant of the fact? Talk with us a little bit on that.
Well, and unfortunately, there are some persons who believe that the government has ultimate power and there's nothing that they can do. You would have seen from the time the vaccine became mandatory, there were persons saying, well, I'm not taking it back, I'm not taking it. But within 24 hours, there were, I think, 700 persons got vaccinated, which, was very, very surprising in terms of not being able to push back. There's a famous saying that whenever the people are afraid of the government, that's tyranny. But when the government is afraid of the people, that's democracy. And
Yes.
the sad thing about it is that people don't realize that there is strength in numbers. It is the people who would have elected the current government, and of course, it's by those who got the most votes. And so it's the same up. In fact, the government said to the civil servants, you're gonna have to test every 2 weeks. That was before the vaccine mandate. And the test, I think,
can I ask you this, sir? I want to ask you this. Do you understand, well, if there's any difference between graphene oxide and ethylene oxide? Do you understand the difference between these two substances?
No, I do not. I'm afraid I do not.
When you look at graphene oxide, is the base for the vaccinations. The spike protein cannot survive outside of graphene oxide. That is what keeps it alive. But ethylene oxide is also a carcinogen, toxic carcinogen, which should not be ingested in the human being at any point at all. It is just as dangerous. Why then would anyone want to ingest that, whatever you call that stupid thing, down in the nose hole of that person, between your brain, the blood-brain barrier, way down to the back of your brain? It actually killed a gentleman with cancer, because it is a carcinogen. It's toxic. It's not supposed to be entering your body.
It's cancer causing. I think I understood.
So I am wondering, if it is that people really care about people, why not get something that you can spit on it and the spit would show up like a pregnancy kit, whatever you call that?
Well,
spit in it
and
let it bring up the thing and tell you, because it's in your saliva. It's all about swab your swab someplace else rather than sticking that stupid thing down in the people's nose.
Well, from what I understand is that they have been doing babies like that, using it orally to test rather than the nostrils, because the instructions say that can be done as well. But the point I was trying to make is that there were several persons who pushed back about being tested and paying, say, $300 every 2 weeks to be tested. And the government eventually said, okay, we'll lower it to $50 or we'll lower it to $25. And it became zero, because the masses said, we are not going to be taking our money for any test every 2 weeks. It makes no sense. And the point I'm trying to make is that when we come together in numbers, and sadly, and a friend of mine from Jamaica said to me the other day, if you look at the history of the region, the Antigans were the least revolting, so to speak, when it came to being rebellious as slaves. I did not
Yes.
independently verify that, but he said to me it is even documented, right? And I began to believe it when I saw what happened, when I saw after the mandate how people decided, and perhaps because the financial reality was that they had mortgages to pay, they had children to feed, and somebody said to me, listen, keep out of Antigua politics. I said, because I'm from Montreal. I said, I'm not involved in Antigua politics. Because they said to me, Warren, the people will go back and perhaps put the same government in. I said, well, except that when you mess with two things, people's jobs and people's children, it makes a difference.
Let's go to the job market, because I spoke with my friend, my brother Neil, a while ago, and we understand now that businesses are perhaps crumbling under this weight. You look at the fact that the food market is technically grinding to a halt, because the day the ships stop coming into the Caribbean region, if we don't start planting our own food, everybody's going to be dead, isn't it? When you look at what is happening in the business in the business sector, the economic sector, you look at how this thing is affecting the lives of people economically, along the line of businesses. You look at how some businesses are now mandating that their workers are injected, which is absolutely coercion, which, by virtue of the fact that you're forcing people into doing things they have no business doing, because if it's going to hurt them, they have to make the right decision for themselves. It now become unlawful and even criminal when you're putting people in a position where they don't have a choice simply because you tell them that whatever is mandated. They're not understanding that a mandate is simply an agreement that you have to make. Technically.
Because remember, bear in mind that many of
Yes.
these persons, there are existing contracts and there are existing terms that govern the relationship between employer and employee.
Yes.
And to mandate that somebody test every 2 weeks or that they take the vaccine, you're changing the terms of the contract. When you're basically repudiating the existing contract. You're saying,
Yes.
listen, this is a new contract, which you can accept because you can agree to it. But if there's no agreement, it ought not to be.
It's
And
very sad,
even the
sir.
collective bargaining agreements that you have, they say none of the terms can be amended, none of the terms can be changed unless the union has agreed with the employer, because these are fixed terms that govern the relationship. So then people ask, well, how can you blame us? Because the government has passed regulations. I say, well, except there is a tort that is known as tortious interference with contract. And perhaps we could say, well, the government has tortiously interfered with my employment contract as a result of pushing this vaccine mandate.
It is wrong. It is actually wrong. Listen, sir, and I think it is ignorance on the behalf on the part of our people. If if I if I walk up to a woman and tell you, lay down, girl, make me sex you right, I say, lay down, girl, lay down, up in your leg. You going to lay down up in your leg, woman? Huh? Is that what you're going to do? Technically, your bosses are backing you up in a corner. So if you don't take the vaccine, you don't have a job. It's the same thing, you know.
It is the same thing.
Are you gonna just? Are you? And I'm putting this figuratively. Are you gonna just lay down and up in your leg? Because I'm saying, lay down, girl, up in your leg. You're gonna just lay down up in your leg. Is this what it has come to? When your boss back you up, is the same thing. It is criminal, and the same terms apply. Lawyers are on this program tonight, and we need to discuss the lawful implication of these actions so you understand what the hell is going on. Because you have given away your rights for those of you who have been jabbed against your will. You reserve the right to say what you want and what you don't want for the body that you carry. It is yours. Now, a lot of you have been genetically modified by virtue of this crap, and when the day is done, you're walking around sad, sick, and stupid. You can't even climb a stair because you're dropping down dead all the way through it. It's your decision, my people. Let no boss and no listen. It is criminal to abrogate your rights, whether they're government, whether they are employers, whatever, whoever the hell they are. You control what happens to your body. It's your right. And as long as there's a courthouse in your country, you have laws to back you. And when the courthouse disappear, you have to take very strong action to listen. I don't want to talk like this here because the raw truth is never always anything that you could defend, Because I tell you, it gets a little crazy when I start talking like this. But when the day is done, we must do. I am not anti-vax, Let me categorically say this. Because if something is going to help you to be better, then go and take it if it's going to help you. But I'm saying, from what I have been seeing and from what is very public and very dominant across the world, we have to stop and think. And when people take a position where they're saying, I am not doing this because they reserve the right to make their own decision. I am not saying I don't tell anybody. I am not telling anybody not to take your vaccine. You ain't going to take it. Run. Enough niggle out if you get poke up your wherever you want to poke it. Take it if you want it. I'm not telling you not to. But for those who do not want to, we need to stop and look at this very practically in a way that is going to make sense to all of us. If we are going to get to the place where equal rights and what is just is going to prevail among us as a people. And I'm talking about, listen, let me break and come back because I'm kind of getting a little hot. I'm gonna let me ease off a little bit. I'll come back in a minute. 1 minute.
You have been watching the latest development, and you seem to be very unsure of what to do next. You know something is about to happen, but again, you simply keep watching without a clue as to what to do next. Wake up, my brothers and sisters. You must move now to save yourselves. You must move now to prepare yourselves for the peril ahead. To delay is to open yourself to serious trouble, and there will be no one to blame but you. Lifeline Financial Programs has always been telling you that things will get very serious very quickly if you do not move now to prepare for what is coming. Nothing will get better. We are on a downhill ride. You must get up and move now to save yourself. It is predicted that you will be having serious financial problems soon. Will you sit and wait until everything has crashed then say, if I had known? Find us today at Lifeline Financial Programs. We have the best plans to keep you alive during the trying times ahead. Mark my word. You will remember every word I say. Don't wait until everything has fallen apart and you are running around like a chicken without a head. Find us at Lifeline Financial Programs today. We will help you find a way. Call us at 540-4555 or email us at lifelinebvlimited@gmail.com.
Lifeline Financial Programs, the gateway to a better future.
Welcome back to The Raw Truth. And of course, I'm Kenny G. I'll be here with you until about 10 o'clock tonight. And of course, time does fly when you're having fun. We have our panel out of Antigua. And of course, it's quite disturbing when you look at the facts and you look at exactly what is happening on the ground. I'm not sure exactly why we have been disregarding the rights of our people. I'm not sure when we have gotten to the point when rights do not matter anymore. I'm not sure when we have gotten to the point where decency, common decency, is now out through the window. And we're all set to be bumping into the wall as we grapple with people who care not a rat's butt as to what happens to you, as long as they get what they want. This is our reality. And this is the discussion we're having. Again, I am neither for or against vaccinations. If you want to take it, you take it. That's your right to choose. But my position is where I do not want to take it, I reserve the right to protect my position. And I'm being personal. You have the right to protect your position. And any such person who wishes to take or not to take reserves the right to do exactly that. Why then are we at a place where if we don't do what some of us say, it becomes a problem? Yes, why not give me good reasons to believe in what you say so I can make a good, a practical decision to move either right or left? And I think this is what people need, a practical reason to make a practical decision in relation to what is good or not good for them. It's their right to do so. And just as our woman would avoid getting raped by a man at gunpoint, so is it that our workers should avoid getting raped by employers to be injected with stuff they don't want to be injected with. If they choose not to do so, it's their right to choose. Again, it's very clear. I am neither for or against. It's one's right to choose. Let us honor our rights as we speak. And I'm not quite sure when we have gotten to the point where people's rights don't matter anymore. Let me go to Brother Chaku. Because the questions are coming out of Antigua. And let me shoot one of them at you. What action will you bring for knowingly opening up the country to accept tourists during a state of emergency that caused more than 100 citizens to die from the deadly virus? This is a question coming out of Antigua, and I'm throwing it at you. What's your take on it?
Okay, I don't think, I cannot identify a specific action that can be brought in light of the question that has been asked. If we look at our Constitution, it tells us that a law will not be considered unconstitutional if it's in the interest of public health, public safety, public morality, public order. The relevant thing here is public safety, it's public health. However, it must be reasonably justifiable in a democratic society. But as Warren had indicated, the question of who can bring the action still remains in the air. But what I would want to point out, Ken, is that our people tend to believe that if something is legal, that it's okay. All that is legal is not just.
It's not lawful, you're right. Yes,
If the
indeed.
government decides it's having a mandatory vaccination program, and the people said, no, that is wrong, can't force me, that's unjust. Going to Parliament, don't make it just.
Yes.
Going to the courts, and the court says it is legal, doesn't make it just. We all know slavery was legal at the time.
There you go.
But it was not just.
There you go.
And the question is, do the people of a country have to wait until an election to get rid of a tyrannical government? And the answer is no. The power lies in the hands of the people. And if people can realize that, can understand that elections held at reasonably intervals is okay. But when you give power to a government, and the government decides to use that power against you and your interests, historically, we have seen how governments have been changed. We saw it in 1789 in France. We saw it in 1791 in Haiti. We saw it in 1776 in the United States. We saw it in Cuba. We saw it in Iran. We saw it in neighboring Grenada. When the government becomes tyrannical, the people has the right to use all means necessary to secure a democracy, to secure their peace, to secure their lives. So I
Yes.
saw a question about whether I have to wait for government elections. Absolutely not. Especially if tyranny is setting in, especially if dictatorship is being cemented. And what we have in Antigua and Barbuda today is the biggest bully in the region. He
Bully.
behaves like a bully in Antigua and Barbuda to the extent that our cabinet is referred to as a chamber of fear.
Uh-oh.
He behaved as a bully on the Caribbean scene that the Prime Minister of Grenada had to put him
Uh-oh.
in place a couple of years ago at a
Uh-oh.
CARICOM meeting. And when
Uh-oh.
you hear him, yeah, when you hear him on the international stage, he'll be telling donors what they must do. It's the
Uh-oh.
biggest bully that we have seen. And the people will, although it seems as if the people in Antigua and Barbuda are not as forceful in these matters as they used to be. We must remember fundamental changes are usually carried out by a conscious minority, and that conscious minority is building in Antigua and Barbuda. We have to end that dictatorship. Throughout, when you can understand that the Speaker of the House of Representatives in Antigua and Barbuda sent a letter to the President of the Senate indicating that no member of the House or no members of the Senate can enter the House unless they show a vaccination card. Of course, the opposition members resisted that, but this is where we are. They, in essence, were changing the qualification for sitting in the parliament. That's dictatorship. That is
Uh-oh.
what is being resisted.
Uh-oh. So you say your you said the House of Assembly is now called the Chamber of Fair, you said? That's what
The
it is?
cabinet.
The
This
cabinet.
guy have driven fear in his 14 cabinet members that it is referred to now as a chamber of fear.
So tell me something, sir. If the chamber is a chamber of fear, then you understand what the hell is happening among the poor people across the Caribbean? I mean
Absolutely.
across Antigua?
Absolutely. I mean, you criticize the prime minister and he tells you where your mother make you on public
Uh-oh.
radio, even if he doesn't know. He will tell
Uh-oh.
you things about you and your family that you have never heard.
But a
And
bad
this
is
is,
a but it's a bad man you're dealing with, man. You're dealing with a bad
we
man.
are dealing with a gangster. The world know him as Gaston Brown. We know him as Gangston Brown.
But no, but hold on now. If no, but there's a similarity. You see when you wearing beard, no Hitler style that man, a Hitler that you know, that beard. You see that beard?
Well, there are two things. It was either Groucho Marx, the comic, or Hitler, the killer. Those are the two images we see when we see
If
his
you look at how we
mugshot.
carry that beard, that beard is
Yes,
Hitler. Now. You have to watch that beard.
but it is a very serious
Ah,
situation
this is
because,
serious.
look, I say this, brother Ken. I don't know much about the sciences, so I leave that to the scientists. What I'm concerned about is the rights of the people. And the same prime minister, when he declared that he got his vaccine and he got the Moderna, he told the public that his body, he alone has control over his body. Nobody can tell him what vaccine to take. His body is sovereign to him. But at the same time, he's telling this population that they must take a vaccine. I tell you, there are a number of persons, I'm not against the vaccine. Very position like, you want to take the vaccine, jump on the donkey or on the train and go and take it. But if your neighbor don't want to take it, no government should be forcing them to do so. I also heard a question earlier regarding what Antiguans could do about the government violating the treaties that they're signatories to. treaties do not provide any legal right to citizens. Remember, treaties are agreements that government can enter and leave when they like. What is expected in the civilized world community is that when you sign the treaty, you make a commitment to adhere to that treaty, commitment to the rule of law, commitment to do things legally, commitment to do things properly, and not terms in the book of Gaston Brown and his government in Antigua and Barbuda.
But again, sir, this is my question, because you're talking about treaties. If all governments across the Caribbean region have endorsed the treaties on the behalf of their people, and these are also enshrined in the United Nations Charter, the Nuremberg Code, and all of these treaties, which the OECS members have signed. How the hell are they behaving so stupid right now? Nobody's holding them accountable for these things. This is my question.
Because what we have seen is a tacit agreement among world leaders, led by the industrial countries, followed by the consumer states, just like Antigua and Barbuda in the Caribbean. Everything the big countries do, they follow. And just as they sign treaties and will pass certain legislation in order to qualify for aid and grants and other financial benefits, that's all it's about. I signed it. That's it. Only the other signatories to the treaties would be in a position to provide sanctions on those who violated what is required in the treaty. But it's not new in Antigua and Barbuda. We have had, since the Gaston Brown administration, at least 7 extrajudicial killings. That is, persons who were killed by the police. And although Antigua and Barbuda is a signatory to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, which require inquiries whenever the military or the police kill a civilian, there's never been one single inquiry in Antigua and Barbuda. Not one. It is a government, it's a government led by Gaston Brown, who does not understand his responsibility as a prime minister, who does not understand, or let me say, he fails to demonstrate that he understands his responsibility as prime minister, that he understands that he must adhere to the rule of law, and Antigua and Barbuda is not his personal property. He's a trustee. He was given the opportunity to lead this country, and the manner in which he acquired power could be a different conversation, but he was given the opportunity to lead this country, and he has done a disastrous job. And the people of Antigua and the consciousness in Antigua and Barbuda is building. There's a time when persons are pushed to the point that enough is enough. In Antigua and Barbuda, enough has become too much.
Let me go to my brother Neil, because it is very interesting when you look at this scenario, and again you look at what has happened, what is happening across the business community. Because now, if this continues, what are the implications, my beloved brother, in relation to how all of this is affecting businesses in Antigua? Give us a little heads up on that.
You're looking at quite a potentially disastrous situation, and let me jump and piggyback off of some things that you said, the raw truth, right?
Go ahead.
Because we already know that unfortunately some people have put an aggressive thing in their body.
Yes.
And unfortunately, due to not understanding the full story and the agenda, not really understanding what all of this is about, there are people that are going to, unfortunately, according to scientists, let me just say, according to many scientists, there are many people that are going to have a very difficult time, and may also lose their life because of this entire thing. And so we don't know what the effect is going to be in the next 5 years. People need to keep this in mind. Antigua has a population of 100,000. In 2 to 3 years, the population could go from 100,000 to 40,000. Okay? That
Yes.
is not a conspiracy theory. Listen again. The people who make the vaccines do not know what's going to happen to you in 2 to 3 or 4 years. Here is why. Here is
But
why.
hold your point, sir. Hold it right there. Here is why. Hold that there. I want to dare you that by next year, March, April, people will be falling dead like flies in that country. Not just there, across the Caribbean region. Remember my word. Go ahead. Make your point.
Understand this. There have been no longitudinal studies on the vaccine, the so-called vaccines. There are no longitudinal studies. They don't know what's going to happen to a person 5 years, 10 years, 3 years after taking the jab. Those studies were never done. There was no generational studies. I remember listening to this doctor thinking, I think they talk about some medication. Can't remember the name, BDS. I can't remember the name of it. And it took them 40 years to take that drug off the market because it didn't do anything to who took the drug, but it did something to their children. All right? And understand this. If this jab is killing so many people now, if there is so myocarditis, people dropping all over, athletes dropping dead, parliamentarians, if it has that effect now, trust me, there could be a total catastrophic disaster in 3 to 4 years. That's a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that is a possibility. And what is really scary, that's part of their plans because they told you that the world is overpopulated and they need to drop the Earth's population by a few billion people. The World Health Organization has said this. The World Economic Forum. That's when you hear terms like sustainable development and protect Earth's natural resources. That's what they say. They don't hide it. And so people, for those who really want to take this thing seriously, you probably need to find a medical professional who can assist you. All right. I was listening to a gentleman who is I guess he's part of the World Economic Forum, and he said in a few years' time, Homo sapiens are going to be a thing of the past. That's basically, he used the term Homo sapiens, and human beings are going to evolve. When these guys are using their fancy language, you need to know what they're saying. They're going to evolve, and you can become a greater than what you are now. And so when you hear the term transhumanism, now all of this is going to sound funny to you if you get your worldview from CNN.
Yes.
Okay. If that's what's going on, because for example, did CNN tell you that a lady named Brooke Jackson, who was a regional director, she wasn't the accountant, okay? She was the regional director, not regional, of a company called Ventavia, who was contracted to do part of the phase 3 clinical trials. This story came out in the British Medical Journal. Go look for it. And she blew the whistle on Pfizer and the testing, and even on her own the company Ventavia, and said that Pfizer, listen to one of the things she said. And by the way, she presented recordings, emails, and internal documentation to support everything she said. And she said that Pfizer falsified their clinical trial data. That's one of the things she said. They falsified and lied. She told the FDA that since September last year. And probably the next day or two, she was fired and the FDA did nothing about it. So those of you who think that the FDA is a reputable organization, you better go and do your research, of how big pharma has taken over the CDC and the FDA. So when you hear this Dr. Ruben, who said, listen, basically, listen, we got to just give it to the children so that we know if it's safe or not. Go and look up what Dr. Ruben said on the FDA advisory panel.
We have with us a panel out of Antigua, and goodness gracious, we're talking with Neil Joseph. He's a businessman, and goodness gracious, when you assess this thing, you don't really need a magnifying glass to see where the facts are. They're very obvious. We're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna go to Warren Castle as we look at the whole matter of information, as was presented by Neil Joseph. We come back in a moment. Welcome back, and you're live with us right here on the Raw Truth. We come to you every Monday evening at 8, and we're live, coming live on Facebook and on YouTube and also on LinkedIn. If you are watching us from LinkedIn, please like the page. If you are coming to us from YouTube, please click the subscription button and the bell. And of course, if you're watching us on Facebook, please like the page. We'll continue to present to you this program every Monday evening at 8. Right here on PSI TV, a PSI Network online presentation. Let me go to Warren Castle, because when the day is over, I think it becomes a matter of law as we look at some of these very interesting developments moving forward in relation to information that is currently coming out of Antigua and Barbuda. One of the questions coming to us, my brother, out of Antigua is, how many Freedom of Information cases did you file or were filed at the Freedom Information Office to obtain documented evidence? Did anyone file any such claims?
Not as far as I'm aware, sir.
Wow. So is it that people are not interested in finding out what the hell is going on? What's happening here?
There's several reasons, honestly. There's several reasons. Some, it could be a financial issue, because as you know, litigation can be very, very expensive. For others, it's a matter of not wanting to be victimized. There's so many reasons.
Wow. So to date, from what you have seen, have any lawsuits been filed in relation to the abrogation of the rights of anyone in Antigua? Do you know?
Yes, as I said earlier, we've had, so far as I'm aware, I know of at least 3, and one that is also pending.
Right.
One is pending in terms of about to be filed, and 3 have been filed so far. The courts have made a determination preliminary on technical issues on 2 of those 3. And on the 1st of December, the 3rd one goes back to court.
Okay. And
because they have seen, for example, they have seen a response in relation to the one that is still pending. They have seen a response from the chief medical officer, making several assertions, including that no one has died of the vaccine. And so, yeah, very interesting. Yeah. I'll be happy to share.
I'm so sorry. Assertion, you said that no one has died, that's what you said.
Yes. I'll be happy to share. And Abby, if you think that it's funny, you need to look at the entire affidavit. I'll be happy to share the affidavit with you. I think we'll make excellent entertainment for you.
Oh my gosh, this is serious. Wow. Go ahead. Is that a pity I can't share my screen with you? But yes, these are things we need to see, because when the day is done, come on, for God's sake. How long will we hide from the truth? And this is my question. We could pretend about it, but how long can we hide from it?
I'm not sure if Chuck will even share with you the fact that parliamentarians who are not vaccinated attempts have been made to block them from attending Parliament as well too.
Yes, it's quite interesting when I heard that. And the whole point is, how far will your prime minister take it to make his
And
point?
people suspect that perhaps in the next election, unless you're vaccinated, you won't be able to enter a polling station.
There you go now.
Nothing has been said of that, but people are suspecting that is where we're heading, having regard
well,
to what we're seeing.
I don't have to tell Antiguan people where this one go. That is a decision they have to make, you see. But when the day is done, that is the ultimate place that is going to go to take away the rights of people. And this is nothing to take lightly at all. Absolutely not. It's like giving you a fish and a piece of bread as a reward for compliance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes.
Quite interesting.
I must let you know that. I must let you know that, having regard to the fact that I was in court for much of the day via Zoom, I have a limited percentage left on my iPad here.
Okay.
Just in case I lose you.
Okay. My brother, well, either way, it's absolutely amazing that you did come on to share with us. And whatever happens, this is always a pleasure to have you. I'm very happy that you actually made the time to come. And whatever happens, you keep it safe. Be strong, because we're going to be having you here again as we look at some other issues as they continue to arise in your country. Peace, my brother. Keep it strong.
And before I go, let me just say that there's a group here in Antigua as well that I believe they'll be making efforts to raise funds to bring a plethora of legal action. I think they're in the process now of setting up a GoFundMe page.
Yes.
I was asked by one of the persons to tell Antiguans to look out for that and to support it as well, because there is strength in unity. Again,
I totally agree.
When the people are afraid of the government, that's tyranny. But
yes.
when the government are afraid of the people, that's democracy.
Peace, my brother. Be strong. Thank you so much for coming. A pleasure.
My pleasure. All right.
All right. That was my beloved brother, Warren Cassell. He's an attorney at law. And of course, he continues to work with the people of Antigua to keep them at least within the law as they stand for their rights. And nothing is wrong with standing for your right. It's your right. It's your unalienable right. And you have to protect them. If you fail to protect them, then of course you put yourself in serious trouble. Let me go back to brother Semester. The final question on the sheet from Antigua is this: how will somebody probably feel that lawyers are just talking and they're not acting? And my brother made the point very, very clearly earlier. Warren made the point earlier that lawyers cannot act if people do not give them work to do. And of course, we're hearing that people are coming together to take action and to do what is necessary and right for themselves. How do you see this coming off? Do you think the people stand a good chance to protect themselves, to defend themselves against this tyranny that is being executed against them by their prime minister? What are you seeing?
Yes, I do. I think that the people will eventually assert their rights and get rid of not just the prime minister, but that kind of politics, that kind of approach to governance, because it would be useless for us to seek to get rid of an individual who behaves in a particular way and replace him with another individual who behaves in the same way. I think that we resist that type of behavior. We have a government who does not consult, a government who does not listen, a government that acts high-handedly. Now, with law, our people, and I think part of it is because of their orientation, seems to place a lot of emphasis on what a court can or will do. And there seems to be a tendency to accept a situation once a court says it's okay. Now, we must understand that, as I pointed out earlier, what is legal is not necessarily what is just. And the ultimate authority in our society must be from the people, the power exercised by the people. Because once our people can understand that the power of the people is greater than the people who are in power, they will be able to channel their consciousness and asserting their rights. You have made it clear that people have been led to believe that the government acts all the time in the interest of the people. The government on a whole is part and parcel of the establishment, to put it simple. The ruling class, those who control the commanding heights of our economy, and what the people eventually end up with is the crumbs of the bread. Only the people can change that.
Yes.
And the people, although I understand that they seek some kind of relief from a court of law, the people cannot continue to believe a court of law is where ultimate relief lies.
Let me ask you this, sir. Let me ask you this, because my beloved brother raised a point a while ago, and I'm sure you heard it well, where he was saying it may get to the point where if people do not take this jab, they may not even be able to vote. If that were to happen, what would you advise your people to do?
If that were to happen, I think we will see a country that becomes ungovernable. Now, we have been monitoring the steps of the government. And those of us who have been doing it and discussing it have realized that when the government said that you take the jab or you lose your job, it was indeed looking for the reaction of the people. Because I don't think that there is any other area as important as your ability to feed yourselves, provide for yourself and your family. And if a government was brazen enough to say you will not work if you do not take the job, then it is a logical step that they may want to say to you. Remember, just like you, they were fleeting with the ideas of you cannot go into banks without the job. You cannot get certain government services without the job. The jab was the conversation. But if they were brazen enough to say to the people of Antigua and Barbuda, you will not eat, you cannot eat, and your children will starve if you don't get the job because we want to give you work. Why do we believe that they then would not say, in order to protect the staff at the registration booth, only persons who are vaccinated will be allowed to register. Then later, in order to preserve the health of the safety of the staff at the polling booth, only persons with the jab will vote. Let me tell you, my dear brother, for the government of Antigua to try that, Antigua and Barbuda will follow in the steps of many nations where people have decided to follow the cry of Patrick Henry.
Yes,
Give
yes,
me
yes,
liberty
yes.
or
I
give me
agree.
death.
I totally agree.
We
Because
have
now
fought.
you're right. Because when it boils down to the point of people's survival, food for life, it will get absolutely crazy. That is not a joke at all.
Listen, it is the first law of nature,
Yes.
self-preservation. And we're a government, irrespective of the supermajority that it may have in the parliament, there is a constitution that limits its power. And there's a constitution that gives people fundamental rights. And as you speak of the inalienable rights of people, those that are called human rights, We
Yes.
cannot sit back. I mean, if I cannot feed my children, I'm going to be home. My children crying, can't
Yes.
feed them. And
Yes.
Gaston Brown is drinking the best and eating the best because I decide not to follow his dictate. No, my
Yes.
brother. 6 feet would be a better option than to live under that.
Wow.
And I think that more and more of our people are saying, I'm not accepting that, and I'm not just saying it. And we saw
Yes.
that on August 8th, which some of us refer to as Tear Gas Sunday, 3
Yes.
o'clock in the afternoon. Hundreds of young people,
I
old
remember
folks,
that one. I
children
remember that one. Yes. I remember that one.
came. And we were down there and no provocation, simple protests, simple
Wow.
protest. And any government that replaces the Gaston Brown government has an obligation to investigate what happened on Tavia Sunday and those who are responsible for placing a reign of terror on the people of Antigua and Barbuda that Sunday must pay for it. We have seen it in other countries.
Yes.
And they, as I, from time to time, when I have conversations with police officers, I tell them they should be very familiar with the Nuremberg trial. You can't
Yes.
come and say I was following orders when it was clearly wrong and illegal.
That is absolutely true.
You know.
Let me
And so
ask.
over here, we continue our education process. I have a program every Sunday from 3 to 5 on 107.3 FM, where we
Yes.
continue to talk to the people about their rights, about
Yes.
the importance of defending those rights, how
Yes.
important it is to preserve those rights, and how those who came before us had made the sacrifices so we could enjoy these rights. We now have an obligation to defend these rights so those who come after us will be able to enjoy it. And no Gaston Brown, no Labour Party government should be able to do what they like with the people of Antigua and Barbuda.
I totally agree, and that is not only unique. That is not unique to you at all, or should not be only for you there in Antigua, but for all parties across the Caribbean region. Let me ask my brother, my brother Neil. From what you're picking up across the business community in Antigua, what are your bodies saying in relation to this thing? Are they truly wishing to comply with this whole thing against the workers, or what? Are they doing it reluctantly, or are they in for this mandate? What are you seeing?
Uh, well, as stated, there are a lot of businesses that they sought legal advice, some of them, and some of them didn't even bother to comply because they realized it was tyranny.
Yes.
Some just totally ignored it because again, we already had a situation. Remember, some of these businesses were closed down for months and months in 2020.
Right.
And especially those that had to depend on that has to depend on the tourism sector.
Right.
You had a devastation. Hotels were closed, flights were couldn't come in the country, and so they were already. You have small business persons who are already hurting. Those who have to deal with, let's say, any spin-off. And then when the government came in with mandates for the private sector, and it hit like a ton of bricks.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've created probably a legal. Maybe Chaco can speak about this because I have friends who chose to not take the job, and so they were written and told that they could not return to work. And now that the mandates, I have that question. Now that the mandates are gone, uh, they're now being told, "Oh, you can come back to work," but they're like, "No, no, 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 not so fast. You owe me severance.
Yes.
I'm not gonna. You're not gonna just discard me and then pick me back up. What if these guys lose their minds again, or display their tyranny again and put back on everything? Do I have to walk? Are you gonna just throw me away or throw me out of the bus again.
Yes.
No. So that's creating a little bit of a legal issue in the business community. If Chaka can
Yes.
speak about that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So this level of instability, as I'm seeing here, of course, businesses could perhaps use this as a tool and a toy as well to have people going from to and fro without compensating them for taking them off the job, and at the same time, they still need the services. This is crazy. And when the day is done, the people need to understand that they have rights. They cannot be kicked about and at the whims and fancy of those who wish to do so, simply because they wish to do it at their expense. This is absolutely criminal, and I'm really hoping that they're standing tall to defend this position. Moving forward, my brother, do you see the Antiguan economy rising from where it is? The government is borrowing money; they can't pay this, that, and the rest of it. Will Antigua rise from where it is at, given the current circumstances? What are you seeing?
Antigua will rise, especially if they change, or it'll only rise if a new administration comes in. This administration is quite incompetent, and no, it's the madness that was happening in Antigua. I don't even think that other Caribbean countries were really dealing with that. And no, you can't. Antigua is not going to rise with this administration. You have to understand, we're not going to forget. And the same mind that said, "Oh, put those vaccinated people in a corner, put them on an island by themselves, and just let them die off." That mind, the same mind that got you into a problem, cannot get you out of it.
Can I burst your bubble, sir?
Go ahead.
Let me tell you what I think needs to happen, and as a matter of urgency. Governments do not care a damn about people. Let me say that categorically. They don't care about you. If it is your brother sleeping in the same room that you sleep on a different bed, perhaps, or wherever you may be on the same bed, on the same pillow, share your food. The minute you vote for him and put him into that office in government, he becomes a monster. Because their job is not to protect the rights of people, but to create wealth for the corporation. That is their job. So the notion where people say, take out this government, man, take it out and put in a new one. Remember, it's two-party, you know. What are the name of the two parties you have in Antigua?
The Antigua Labour Party and the United Progressive Party.
Antigua Labour Party and the United Progressive Party.
Those are the main two.
Which one is it now? The United Progressive Party, right?
No, the Antigua Labour Party.
Antigua Labour Party. So, how many years you been exchanging the Labour Party and the Progressive Party? How many years you been doing that one back to back? How many years?
Well, interestingly, Antigua is unique in that perspective, and Chaco can speak about that as well. The United Progressive Party, over the term of even starting from independence, has only been in for 2 terms.
Two
out of all these decades, yes. And so the Antigua Labour Party has been in power. So we haven't really had the situation as other countries. When the UPP was in power, though, I found that there's quite a big difference.
Yes.
They pass programs to really help the people, and they I'm not saying they were perfect, but to me, you had far less corruption. Or somebody can say, you're getting political.
But let me ask you this, sir. As a businessman, and I'm sure you have your ears glued to the ground and your eyes watching very, very, very closely. I'm seeing that. My question is this. As we move into the 21st, 22nd century, and you look at exactly what is happening at the global level, you look at the New World Agenda, you look at the fact that that is technically what is being implemented as we speak. Do you think it matters which party gets into the office right now? Or which set of people gets in the office?
And that is why the people need to hold them accountable. The people need to hold them accountable, and the government need to be afraid of the people.
But
So yes, whichever
some,
government is in power, I don't believe that every country is going to bow to the New World agenda.
right.
And Antigua, I don't know. I don't know. I will tell you this. I'm not one of those, because recently, a couple of days ago, they had celebrated International Men's Day.
Right.
That's what they celebrated, International Men's Day. There's some men who celebrated that day, and I don't know why they celebrated, because it doesn't apply to them. It was International Men's Day, not
Yes.
International Males Day. And I
Yes.
can't believe, and I'm calling on the men of this country, if you are a man, you are going to allow your wives and your girlfriends and your daughters to be taken advantage of by some politician who doesn't care about putting a dollar in their pocket. You're going to carry your children to the slaughter and pretend that Pfizer is not a top-class criminal organization that's been fined billions and billions of dollars for lying and falsifying. You're going to go on as if the adverse reactions are real, and literally carry your child to put a Pfizer vaccine in their body. This is where the issue is. So the agenda, yes, but the people, a small group of people, will continue to fight. Indeed, will continue to fight.
Wow, my brother, it's very interesting as we roll through this, but it is interesting as we continue to examine this notion in Antigua. You look at the strides government has been making in relation to bringing the people to a place of submission. You look at the effect the jab has had on the people in relation to who is dying and who is now suffering and who is halfway dead and all kind of garbage that's going on. You look at all of these things. You look at people who are being afraid by virtue of the fact that the prime minister has been behaving like a madman, and ministers of government are wishing them dead and isolated on islands and all the garbage that goes along with it. You look at children, well, now that they raise hell, now they're going back to school, and maybe they need to raise hell more hell to make sure that government understand exactly what their rights are and do exactly what it needs to do on their behalf. Yes. I say it is the right of the people to choose, and when the day is done, no one should abrogate that right or take it away from the people to do so. It is absolutely criminal. And when the day is done, while I have no specific position in relation to who does or does not, I won't get into that. None of my business. But all I'm saying, what is just and right for the people, let it be just and right. I have no problems doing and giving to people what is just and right to them. And if we have come to a place where we do not see it fit at this point to respect, lawfully respect what is just and right for our people, we are absolutely in a serious position, and the people need to hold any one of us who seek to disregard our unalienable right for justice. The people reserve the right to hold us 100% fully accountable for this criminal act against us as a people. Yes, it is our unalienable right as a people to hold your politicians accountable. It's your right. And I'm not talking about vaccination or jabs. I'm talking about providing good economic situations, jobs for you, for each of you, making sure that your people get decent education. Yes, making sure that you get decent health services. All of these are the duty or duties of government to ensure that these are fulfilled in your favor. Your government is not doing that. They're abrogating your rights. And you should not get up and make up noise when they have a gun pointing to your head. You should all demand your rights before it gets to a place where they're holding a gun. Because when you see the gun to your head, it means you have allowed them to go so far to the point where now you barely have any rights left. See? As we're about to close, my beloved brothers, let me ask Brother Chaku to take a few minutes and wrap up, and then we come back to you, Brother Neil. Talk to us, Brother Chaku. Go ahead.
Well, again, it's my pleasure sharing with your the audience our views, and I must tell you, full disclosure, you had asked about the political parties. I was the chairman of the United Progressive Party for a number of years, about 9 years. I'm still a senior
Ah,
member of the party, and we have a distinction between us and the Antigua lady. And just for a little history of we got adult suffrage in 1951. So, of the
mm.
70 years that we have been voting to govern ourselves, only 15 years have seen a party besides the Antigua Labour Party. They have governed for 55 of the 70 years, in one instance for 28 consecutive years. So you could understand how much that party and its philosophy of not caring for people is embedded in the psyche of the
But let me
population
ask
of the
you,
Antigua and Barbuda.
let me ask you this, sir, because if the party you represent, which from what I'm seeing, if the people are saying no, your party probably would do better. Why is it that the people have kept the party out of operation for as long as this has been? What do you think creates this?
As I pointed out some earlier, that the Labour Party is not concerned about the rule of law. They have had a monopoly and power right down from 1976. First from 1951, 1971, then from 1976 to 2004, which was again ruling with fear. Victimization was a
Ah,
part and parcel. People were going along to get along. And until 2003, when we had an amendment to the Representation of the People's Act, where we clean up the voters list, where we had voter ID, where we have registration all year round, where we have scrutinies all year round, trying to keep the system clean, is when we were able to remove them from power in 2004. But by 2014, we have seen their number, which will need a whole lot of discussion, developments that they sought and investors who financed their campaign. And simply put, they were going and buying people's votes despite the
but
attempt. And so that is why today that people are more, I think, more eager to see the back of the Antigua Labour Party, because the party has been in power for so long, and the way they have been governed, people have become accustomed to it. Corruption seems to be part and parcel of their DNA, and people realize, especially a new generation of people are realizing, this is not what it's supposed to be. Coming out of all of the Caribbean countries, I think except Trinidad and Tobago, the political parties were given birth by the trade union movement. And the
right.
kind of loyalty in the trade union movement had passed on to political parties. That is being changed now, with our population becoming more educated, the electorate is becoming more sophisticated. So it's not just a good sounding person, and the platform means a lot now. It is
Yes.
issues, it is substance. And I think,
Fine.
brother, you're so right that people must understand that government function in the interest of those who control our economy. Until we understand that and put people in office who will use the limited resources of our country for the greater good of the many and not the few. The
Let me
struggle
ask you this. Let
continues.
me ask you. This is one last question I want to shoot at you. How do you see the new party if and when you get to that place where you have to replace Gaston and his gang? How will the new party be different?
It
I
will
have
be
to ask you that.
different. It will be different because we have seen the difference for 10 years. For the 70 years that we have been governing ourselves, the United Progressive Party was the only party that implemented social programs that benefit the poorest among us directly. It is shown that consultation, before any real change takes place, the consultation around the country, we were practicing participatory democracy. We passed a trilogy of legislation as soon as we got in power in 2004, providing for the Freedom of Information Act, providing for an Anti-Corruption Act, and integrity in public life act as we sought to bring good governance. Because you see, the United Progressive Party was an amalgamation of the Antigua Caribbean Liberation Movement, which was a left organization, and two other political parties. So you find that some of the progressive thoughts and progressive ideas that was in the what came out of the Black Power movement is in that political party, and a distinction with that. Now, of course, because of our political history and our political culture, there are some similarities. But clearly, in terms of program, providing for the people, recognizing the rights of the people, the difference between the two political parties are different as day and night. But ultimately, it's a political party that will put economic control in the hands of the masses that will bring total liberation to the people of Antigua and Barbuda and indeed the Caribbean.
All right, my brother, that's a powerful note on which to end. And as we pull it to a close, let me bring in my brother Neil to tell us a little bit and just give us your thoughts in closing as to what you're seeing. Where do we go next? Talk with us.
Well, we're pleased right now in Antigua that the people stood up and mandates were reversed, and we are hoping for total freedom, because both the vaccinated and the unvaccinated should live in freedom, and the rights of all human beings should be honored. So, the fight continues, because, as you know, there is a globalist agenda, and I don't know if they've met the quota already. I think the Prime Minister said one of the reasons why they dropped the mandates for the children, listen to this one, that the children who were eligible to take the jab, 80% of children in Antigua, I guess it's over the age of 12, 80%. So they said that they've experienced herd immunity with the children. And that is quite unfortunate. So we will just keep in prayer and continue the battle and let God's mercies fall as they may. That's all I can say about that. The future is in God's hands right now.
What can I say? This is absolutely interesting. Herd immunity. I've never seen you talking about people like cows and goats. Utterly despicable. My beloved brothers and sisters, we thank you so much for joining us. And when the day is done, we continue to look at the bulls as they continue to surface across the region, across the world. And our people, being so ignorant, are falling for these bulls in a way that is beyond recognition. It is absolutely incredible. However, as we move forward, I guess nature will have to take its place. Many will die as we move forward. Many will not be here as of March, April next year, because many will be dead. The vaccine will kill a lot of people moving forward. It's a fact. This is proven to be so based on the reports from credible immunologists who continue to give their 100% practical assessment of the situation. I'm not here trying to frighten anyone, but I'm hoping that as you move along, you will seek to keep yourselves healthy if you took it. You will try to understand the function of blood in your body and do what you must to keep your blood pure, to make sure that you can transport enough oxygen to your heart and your brain and the other parts of your bodies that need oxygen to function. And as you do so, you will take all the steps necessary to protect yourselves moving forward. Because unless you have a total knowledge of what you are exposed to, you are going to be in absolutely serious trouble. Let me thank our brothers from Antigua. Goodness gracious, it's an absolute honor, my brothers, to have you on. it's I'm hoping we'll be able to connect again, and when we connect again, you'll give us some good news out of Antigua, because we realize that as long as the tyrannic agenda continues, people are going to be hurting right, left, and center. And as soon as you look around at the beginning of next year, it's going to be so different that many of us will not be able to even understand exactly what has hit us. But may we continue to stand together as we stand with you, my brothers. Keep it strong. Be safe. We salute the work you've been doing. Continue to be strong. And peace to you both until we meet again on The Raw Truth. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
Yes, good night.
For those of you who are watching from across the world, wherever you are, we thank you so much for coming on. And when the day is done, it's your regular Monday evening program, The Raw Truth, right here on PSI TV. We're coming to you from Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Please be sure to go to our page on LinkedIn. You can go to our page on LinkedIn, like the page if you're watching us from LinkedIn. If you're watching us from Facebook, go to PSI TV, like the page. Or if you're coming to us from, if you're watching us from YouTube, please be sure to click the subscribe button and also click the bell to get our updates. Whatever you do, keep your brain alive. Don't be a fool. The fool will die, but the wise will save himself alive. He that humbleth himself shall be lifted up. But if you think you are the it, you will become the not. Peace. We catch up with you later. All the very best until we see you next week, Monday. All the best to you.
You have been watching the latest development, and you seem to be very unsure of what to do next. You know something is about to happen, but again, you simply keep watching without a clue as to what to do next. Wake up, my brothers and sisters. You must move now to save yourselves. You must move now to prepare yourselves for the peril ahead. To delay is to open yourself to serious trouble, and there will be no one to blame but you. Lifeline Financial Programs has always been telling you that things will get very serious very quickly if you do not move now to prepare for what is coming. Nothing will get better. We are on a downhill ride. You must get up and move now to save yourself. It is predicted that you will be having serious financial problems soon. Will you sit and wait until everything has crashed then say, if I had known? Find us today at Lifeline Financial Programs. We have the best plans to keep you alive during the trying times ahead. Mark my word. You will remember every word I say. Don't wait until everything has fallen apart and you are running around like a chicken without a head. Find us at Lifeline Financial Programs today. We will help you find a way. Call us at 540-4555 or email us at lifelinebvlimited@gmail.com.
Lifeline Financial Programs, the gateway to a better future.